everyone, Stephanie here, coffee drinker, book lover, and reviewer of many things, and welcome to my new office. It's a bit messy. We haven't finished what we're doing. Um, this is going to be a review video on Where the Dark Stands Still. But first, I'm going to give you a little update of my life. So if you don't want the update of my life, you can click to the whatever number I put up here and enjoy your review. I am drinking juice right now. Um, this is my second go at this video, and hopefully it works this time. Uh, so as you can see, we've got some bookshelves. We've got some boxes. Those are boxes. These ones back here have books in them, mostly kid books. These ones right here have soundproofing stuff. Um, as we were moving things in, I would bring the boxes that I knew were books in, and then we decided to bring the bookshelves in. These bookshelves, and there's actually a shelf on the other side of the brown one here that's tan, and I was walking backwards, and when you walk backwards, it's like heel toe, heel, you're just grooving. Well, I missed the little ledge. Like, I thought I was on it, and I wasn't. I slipped off, and I had a clip in my hair. It's broken. Back of my head still hurts, and it's been like 5 days. I don't know. My back, when I fell, I landed on this hip, my left side. It hurts still. Um, and then because I was carrying the bookshelf, it fell on top of me when I fell, so I got some bruises, and my knee has a scrape. And I had a little spot on my lip. Yeah, so it's been a few days of pain, but I've still been slowly getting things set up in the house. But I had to come and tell you about this book. Um, and I'm doing this video. If my camera is blurry, I haven't figured out how to stop it from. Um, yeah, we'll find out. Uh, so I'm gonna tell you a funny story before I jump into the book review. First, like 3 days we were here. Okay, so for like the first 5 days that 4 or 5 days we were here. We only had what we brought with us from where we were staying before, and of it the first morning I was like, all right, I got my coffee cup, I got my Keurig. I was like, I got coffee in the fridge. I was ready to go, and I was getting it. I pushed the button to heat up the water, finding my cup and giving it a little wash because I don't things that have been in the boxes. And hey, okay, and there was no sugar. So I had to have cold coffee, and I was a little sad because cold coffee doesn't hit the same as um, hot coffee, but I dealt with it. It was good. And so now that you've heard a little bit about what I've been going through, I am going to tell you about uh, Where the Dark Stands Still. It's off of the 2025 Reading Challenge. Right here. And I listened to this on Boundless. Um, book was really good. Okay, let me read you the summary first. Oh, and I'm glad that I listened to this book, because there were some Polish names and Polish words that I would not have known how to pronounce. So I'm gonna struggle reading this to you. A girl with dangerous magic makes a risky bargain with a demon to be free of her monstrous powers in the dark, devastating, and gothic young adult fantasy, perfect for fans of Enchant of Ravens and House of Salt and Sorrow. I'd never read those, so I didn't know. Liska knows that her magic is monstrous and its practitioners are monsters. She has done everything possible to suppress her own magic to, disastrous consequences. Desperate to be free of it, Liska flees her small village and delves into the dangerous demon-inhabited spirit wood to steal the mythical fern flower. If she plucks it, she gives it one wish to banish her powers. Everyone who has sought the fern flower has fallen prey to the unknown horrors. So when Liska is caught by the demon warden of the woods, called the Lusky, a bargain seems better than death. 1 year of servitude exchanged for the fern flower and its wish. Whisked away to the Lesky's crumbling manor, Liska soon makes an unsettling discovery. She is not the first person to strike this bargain, and all her predecessors have mysteriously vanished. If Liska wants to survive the year and return home, she must unravel her host's full of secrets and face the ghost, figuratively and literally, of his past. Because something wakes the woods, something deadly and without mercy. It frightens even the the less, less, like, I can't say it, Lusky, and cannot be defeated unless Lisa embraces the monster she always feared. Um, this book has 4.6 stars on Audible and 4.1 on Goodreads. Now, let me tell you. Let me tell you. So, this book made me cry. This book had a lot going on in it, and I I want this book on my bookshelf. Oh, maybe when I have books on, but I need this book. Okay, I need this book. I'm gonna read you. I'm gonna read you a little bit about what I thought. This book, by the way, this is one of my favorites. Look at this. Why are you bouncing around? Okay, so this is what I wrote down. So the title is Where the Dark Stands Still. It's by A.B. Poranek. Poran, something like that. You know I'm bad with names. It is a dark fantasy young adult fiction book. Its publisher is Simon and Schuster. It's got 11 hours and 55 minutes of book. I listened to this one, so yeah, I didn't go and look up how many pages that is. I started this one on January 14th, and um, when did I finish this? Hold on. I gotta go look at what's it called? Uh, story graph says that I finished this book January 22nd because I didn't write it down. Okay. Uh, why did I choose this book? Because it was on my 2025 reading challenge, and just look at the cover of the book. That's what I wrote. Um, Overall rating, I gave this a 4.5 little books. And would I recommend this? Yeah. Yeah, I would. I would definitely recommend this book. The other book, there's one other book that this author has written. It's called A Treachery of Swans. And I plan on looking into that one too because it sounds interesting. All right. The first thing I wrote on this review page, and by the way, the review lines stop here, and I kept writing. I don't know if I had enough space. Okay. This book made me cry! Exclamation point. Book made me cry. Towards the end, I got choked up and big tears. And I was like, and then I cried again on the epilogue of the book. And I'll get to that later. A stag creature appears in front of her, and she asks, I don't suppose you know the way to the fern flower. And then it snorts, and she says, well, if you're not here to help me, I suppose you're here to eat me. Best get on with it then. That's pretty much how it started. It started with her like going into the forest. And she's gonna be this is gonna happen for me. And then she runs into him and she's like this witty comment, and he snorts at her like you have you have nerve. Um Liska is 17 and has been told her whole life that magic is evil and females that have magic go crazy and die. She tries to get rid of her magic after a death is caused by her accidentally. I'll talk more about that later. Totally deserved. Maybe not death, but she ends up making a deal with a demon, the Leche. He takes her to his house that is sentient. The house is sentient. Okay, the house likes her, by the way. To be his maid. He pretty much tells her that she's going to feed him, like make him food at certain times. Um and that he would help her. Oh, and that he needs her to help with a spell. And then once she helps with the spell, then he'll take her magic and send her back home. That is the deal. Um anyway, where was I? Uh they start having feelings, but they don't act on them. She gets good at her magic, and the house likes her. She helps the Leche in a battle, kind of. Their relationship grows beautifully, and they finally act on their feelings in a waterfall. Um, they don't get to do the act, but they show their appreciation for each other in a waterfall. Um, she wants to stay with him. She's decided that she wants to stay with him instead of returning home. His inner demons are too strong. Sadness happens, and Liska ends up at home, but chooses to go back to be the warden of the woods and stay with Yaga and Maxki. That's what I put. That's as far. Okay, don't cry over a book, right? I'm gonna try to keep it together. Okay, so you find out through flashbacks that she's always had sort of this magic around animals where she can like touch them and her hands glow and she sees what they're thinking. Like she'll ask a question like, "What have you eaten?" or, "What's wrong?" And she if when her hands glow and she touches them, she sees what they see or what they've seen. And it's it's always been very nice. Like she helped somebody with their dog, she helped someone with their cow, like, and people always just were okay with her. And yeah, until her cousin, who is also her best friend, marries the boy who has always had it out for her. He's always tried to, like, she's a witch, and you know, she's got a demon in her. He spreads rumors about her and all of that stuff. And I mean, technically the rumors are wrong. Um but because everyone thinks that it's a bad thing, they think it's a bad thing. And until so okay, her cousin marries him and doesn't like as soon as they're married, he's like, "You're not allowed to talk to her. You're not allowed to see her. Not in the house, not in public." It's very controlling of this. And she goes along with it. And then he shows up at Liska's doorstep and is like, "There's something wrong with our cow." And I don't remember her cousin's name. Told me that you were good with animals. So come help, please. And he's like begging. And she's like, "Okay, I guess." And so she goes and she's asking questions and she circles the cow, as like a veterinarian would. And is and she's like, "Okay, what's the cow eaten in the last few days?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know, but your cousin would know. So I'll go and get her or ask." And so he pretends like he runs out of the barn, closing the door behind him. And she's like, "Nobody is here." And she does her little magical touch thing, and she sees flashes of the cow, what the cow's eaten, and the cow's thinking, "Hey, I ate this, this, and this," and but Master, the guy, gave it to me. So, um, and she's like, "Why would he feed you something he knows is poison? He's a farmer. He's he been raised like this." And then she realizes this is a trap, and he throws the doors open, and he's like, "I caught you, red hand," blah blah blah. And there's a big commotion, and so Liska kind of like panics, and her magic explodes out of her, and he gets thrown back, I guess. It's not really clear because, she's um falls down and hits his head, and well, and just as like Liska's running over to see, if she can help, she didn't mean to. Uh, her cousin comes in, and her cousin starts to panic and passes out because, and at the funeral, her cousin is like, "You better stay away from me," and all of, blah blah blah. And they Liska's mom convinced everyone that uh, what the cousin saw wasn't magic being happened. It was, you know, Liska saw. I mean, the cousin saw Liska leaning over him to try to help him because he fell down, and it, spun something in her head to make it seem like it was magical, woo, because of all the stories that he had been telling her or something like that. Like, they played the woman's crazy card. Um, and so when you see that, you understand why Liska is trying to get rid of her magic. But you don't know for sure why, except the fact that magic is bad until like halfway through the story, maybe less than half. Anyway, and she she never like acts afraid of the leche. Like she is just like, what do you think you like? He'll be like this, and this, and she's like, okay, and and she will, if she thinks something is wrong. Like if he says something and she's like, that's not right. She tells him. She's like, what about this? What about that? And so it's really nice to see that. Um, there is also this time where the battle that she helps with. So he create okay, back up. So she gets to the house, and the house keeps giving her like hints of like doors, and she's like, and then sometimes she'll go into a door and she'll find clothes or something that's from other people. Like, so she'll find like clothes from different eras, and she's like, she doesn't ever ask questions. And then when she finally does, he's like, well, you're not my first companion. And she's like, oh. And he's like, well, I've been around for like 1,000 years or whatever. And she's like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, sure. So after spending some time with him, one of the things he's like, how can I make your stay here be better? And she's like, I would like a garden. And he creates a garden room for her. And that's nice. And then she starts cleaning the house because she's the maid. And she leaves bread and honey out. Anyway, she leaves a little snack out for a house spirit because every house deserves to have a spirit in it that is helpful. And she finds one, and the it's think of it like an old lady who is demanding but kind of childish at the same time. And so she calls her Yaga, and yeah, Yaga. I think it's Yaga. And so they become friends, and uh it's their friendship is very nice. And you find out that she's actually one of the past spirits that he has been friends with. But once you come back as a house spirit, you don't remember your past, because once you remember your past, you can forgive your past, and then you can move on, whatever happens after. And you find out at the end of the book, she's like, Liska's like, I know who you were and I can tell you what happened. And she's like, do I look like I'm ready to move on and leave you guys here all alone? And she's like, oh, it's a pretty funny moment. And then, so she starts training with the Leche, like, like training, like fighting. and, magic and swords, I think. And then he gets these notes whenever different towns are being attacked by monsters or demons or whatever. And so he goes and he helps protect that town. And he's gone a few before, and she's like, "I'm going with you." And he's like, "No, it's not safe." And she's like, "I have medical training." And he's like, "If you're coming, let's go." And so he leaves her in the town to go and do the fight because it turns out um it's in the middle of the night, and all of the men in this town have just gotten up and started walking out the town. And so the Leche is like, "Oh, it's probably a siren or something bring um the men out, uh, them." And so he takes a witch. That's not what they're called. They're called something else. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a witch, a magic person, with him, and she's kind of old. And Liska's like, "Where are you going?" And then she pulls out this sword, and she's like, "Never mind." And they go and they do their battle, and she's in the town, and then all of a sudden these creatures start attacking in town, and she uses her magic to stop them. Like at first she's like fighting, and then she gets knocked down, and it's like into her side, and she unleashes all of her magic at once. And like water, from what we don't know what happened. We only know hearsay from what the women in town say, that water people started attacking the monsters, and the monsters went away. And so when she comes to, she is um in an old lady's in the old lady's house. And the Leche's there with her, and he did something, like he took the poison out of her magically. And so because he can just take a potion and it's on, but it would kill a human or someone who's not part demon. And yeah, you find out he's not completely a full demon because he still is got a human side. Um. Anyway, he would be a anyway. Um. Yeah. And so she's like, "Oh, you've been spending all this time here with me. We gotta get up, and I can help you take care. Heal other people." And she sits up, and she's like, "Bleh." And the lady's like, "You're not going anywhere. You need to rest." The leche gets up, and she's like, "You also need to rest." And she leaves. And so this them two alone, and they start talking about whatever, and they get closer and closer, and she starts to think, "Oh, this is really inappropriate. Like, I am not dressed to be around someone of I'm not of the male, you know, I'm not dressed appropriate." And that flashes through her head because remember, she's only 17. He's like 1,000 or whatever, but she's like, and she gets kind of embarrassed, and then he's like, uh, uh, "I'll see you in a week," and like leaves, and she's like, "What the heck?" Like, and she tries to follow him, and she hears, because the old lady finds him, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I can't, you know, deal with this right now." And she's like, she's like something about your emotions, and he's like, "I don't need emotions." He leaves, and Liska gets really sad, but she stays in the town, and she finds a little boy, and he doesn't talk, but he's alone. And so she starts asking people, "Hey, do you know this kid? Do you know where his parents are?" And no one answers. Everyone's just like, and finally a guy is like, "If he has no parents, what do you think happened?" And she's like, and he's like, "Yeah, we get plenty of orphans." And he walks away. And so she kind of takes the kid and she takes him back to the old lady's house. And the old lady's like, "Oh," and she feeds him. And they're having a nice little moment. And then Liska's like, "Okay, I'm going to go back. I'm healed enough. I'm going to go back to the house, to the manor, whatever." And so she starts heading back to tree door tree. Anyway, it you go in this door. Think of it like Nightmare Before Christmas. You go into the door and you end up somewhere else. Yeah, it's sort of like that. And as she gets to the door, the boy grabs her hand, or yeah, grabs onto her hand and like pulls her back. And she's like, "Oh no, 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 you can't come. I gotta go back." And she's like, "I gotta go back. I have to finish my year, and all of that stuff." And he's like looking around like, "Don't leave me here." And she's like, she tells him, she's like, "Oh, it's really dangerous. You really shouldn't all this stuff." And then finally she's like, "All right, come on." And she takes him with her. And a week goes by, and when the leche gets back, he's like, "What are you doing?" And he freaks out because there's a kid in his house. And it's pretty funny. And she's very calmly, it's like, "I'm gonna," she had told the kid, she's gonna call him Max. And she's like, "Let us have a little discussion. You go on to your." And so he gets up and he heads to the door, and Yega, the cat spirit, jumps down and follows too. And I have this vision of her being like, "No, no, boy, keep going. You don't want to be near them." Because they start arguing, and he said, he's like, "This is my house, and how dare you," and all this stuff. And she's like, "Your house? Oh, is it your house?" And she starts making, like, using her magic to make things happen in the house. And he didn't realize that the house had attached itself to her. And I guess, like, he didn't feel that that was happening. And he's like, "House betrayed me." But she can't stop her magic from doing stuff. And it kind of gets out of hand, and he calms her down, or he gets her calmed down. And she bursts out into tears, and she's like, "You're right. I'm dangerous. It's not the house. I'm dangerous. You would take the boy back." And he's like, "No, you need him here. He needs us." And so he takes the kid under his wing and teaches him how to write and read and stuff like that. And it's a fun little relationship that happens. And then thing happens. And they have to go off into the woods and do a fighty thing. And when they are coming back is when the waterfall happens. She's the funny thing is she's walking, and they're going back to the door that leads to where they need to go, or the tree door where they need to go. And she remembers that there is a pond, a river, or something like that. And she's like, "I'm filthy," like, just the guts and stuff. Um, Joyous. And she's like, "I'll be back." And she turns and she starts walking away. And he like And he starts following her because he's like, "What the heck are you doing? Like, are you possessed?" And um, sorry, I keep moving, guys. I'm still in pain and sitting in one position too long. It hurts. So she gets to the lake and she doesn't realize that he's following her. She starts taking off her outer clothes, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "I'm gonna get cleaned up." And he's like, uh, you know there's a spell for that. And she turns and looks, and he is spotless. And she's like, but this way is more fun, and you get to connect with the water. She's like, yeah, I totally knew. Um, and so she gets in the water, and then she like goats him into getting into the water, like, oh, the old guy can't get in the water, he's too afraid. And so he gets in the water, and then they have a fun little moment of getting close. And just as they're about to kiss, a noise happens. Or I guess just as they're about to go further, the noise happens. You're like, and then they go home, and uh, Yega and Maxky are waiting for them with breakfast ready. I think it's like porridge or something. I don't remember. And Liska is like, that, and Yega gives her this look like not disapproving, but like I know. And yeah. And so then they have little moments of like eye contact and saying what they feel and all of that stuff. And she's been trying to figure out his past because one of the doors that magically appeared without her trying was a library, and it had like love letters and stuff. And she's like, and she's seen like glimpses of this guy. And so, and then there was like a wolf spirit or something, and it was communicating with her. And in the beginning, when she first saw the wolf spirit, he set the bones on fire and didn't know that she kept a tooth. And later, she uses magic on the tooth, and he's oh before the later, she sees the dog spirit right outside the bounds of the house, the gate or whatever, and she follows it, and she doesn't know that Maxky is also following her, and the dog starts to get aggressive, and it's not. Later, we find out it's not trying to be aggressive. It was trying to frantically like hurry her up because it's taking too. And Maxky jumps in front of her, and he gets attacked. And but he uses his voice to get the dog to disperse. And just about that time, the leche, sorry, shows up at the end of it and thinks that Max was the one trying to hurt her, and she defends him, and he's like, "This whole time, you've been one of them." And he he doesn't say anything, and she's like, "No, he was protecting me. He was protecting me." And you find out like she uses her magic, and he needs to go to the river because he's hurt and doesn't get into the water, he's gonna die. And so, they're waiting for him like at the banks of the water to find out what they're gonna do. While they're talking, you find out that in order for that human spirit monster thingy to become human enough to pass off as a human, they have to a lot of other magical beings, and she's like, but he's never hurt us. And then when he's better, she uses her powers and sees how he got the way he is. And she's like, okay, okay. And he gets to stay. It's very nice. And he's the cutest little boy. Monster person. Anyway. And then some time goes by. I'm not going to tell you everything because I'm already hitting 40 minutes. And so he he or she starts learning. She's getting really good with her magic, and she starts looking things up because she's trying to help save the Leche's soul and trying to get rid of the demon god thing that's inside of him, so that he doesn't have to keep getting in pain. It sounds very. And so she uses the tooth, and it makes a person, the man she keeps like having visions of or whatever. And so he takes her, like she follows him. I wouldn't, but she follows him to this shrine thing, and it turns out like he tells her the story of how the Leche feeds people to the god, and she gets really angry, super, and heartbroken because she's like, this whole time you've been just like showing me how. And he's like, no, no, it started out that way, yes, but no. And so she's mad. Of course she's mad because for one, you said you were going to take my powers and send me back home, not take my powers and then let a demon eat me. Uh, and two, I have feelings for you now. So, and they'd acted on their feelings. And she was even convinced to stay after she had told him about her town and things that have happened. And he's like, would you want to go back? That sounds awful. And she's like, well, my mom is there. He's like, that's it. Um, so she leaves and she goes and visits the old lady, heartbroken, and the old lady feeds her and tells her some story about the life that's been going on. And then Maxky shows up and is banging on the door and is like, you know, frantic, like, and she, trying to get Lisa to go with her, and she's like, whoa, 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 what's going on? She like to him, and she's like, I gotta go. There's something wrong. And when the closer you get to the day that the demon god is supposed to be fed, the more pain and like suffering that the Leche has to go through. And it's like wood branches are like breaking out of his skin or whatever. Ugh, that sounds. And so she goes back and she takes care of him. And then, well, one thing leads to another. And after they get him fixed up, they may find their way to the same bed. And after he's asleep, she starts going through his stuff and she realizes that they have twin souls, mirrors, something like that. So That's why things like the house like her, and the reason why her magic is so strong, because yeah. And so she's like, "What if we do an exorcism and this and that?" And he's like, "Well, it doesn't hurt to try." And then they sneak into her town and they're trying to be sneaky before daylight. But whatever animal, like a goat or a horse or something that she used to take care of, it only greeted her and her mom, like with the noise. The animal makes the noise, and the mom opens the door and sees them standing there, like because they were walking past the guard. And she goes, "Jesus, Lisa?" And the leche goes, "No, yes." And he introduces himself, and then they go in for a cup of tea, and it's hilarious and awkward. And I can just imagine the kind of like awkward conversation that's happening with the mom who's like, magic is bad, but then the teapot gets knocked over and Liska like magics it back onto the table, all back together, and then she's like, "Sorry." And they tell her mom, the whole entire thing that's going on. She's like, "Well, I think I can, I'll go with you. Maybe I can help." And Matsuki is there, and he's got himself a little notepad and he writes things down. And they go to the church, and the father is there, and he has sort of the same reaction the mom does, except he's like, "Liska, you're alive!" And then he sees the leche, and he calls him by the name, like a specific name that he goes by with the villagers. And uh, Lisa's Liska's like, "Y'all know each other?" And yeah, we've met. It's very funny. And so he's like, "Well, I don't typically believe in older gods, but I do believe in magic." And like he's like trying to rationalize the fact that there's more than one god. And he's like, "So this should work." And there's kind of a battle that happens inside of the church, and uh the father and her mom, they go out and they have to try to get all of the villagers out of the way, so they don't get hurt. And Liska is like trying to, "Hey, hey, hey, you can't get me," kind of stuff, like get him away from, because now the demon god has completely taken over. And so she is like booking it, and he's chasing her, and it's a whole thing. And there's a falling through trees, and she gets him back to she gets him back to the shrine of the god that hit him. And she sets it on fire, and it hurts him, but not completely. And so then she goes over and she burns him, like the wood inside him. And um the demon god is gone, and the leche comes back, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, you did it." And they have a moment, and then all of a sudden he like grabs onto her and transfers all of his powers to her. And she's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, what are you doing?" Like, and he's like, "The forest has to have a warden. Like, there has to be a warden of the woods, and you know these woods, and the manor loves you." And he's like going through all this stuff, and she's like, "Yeah, but now we can go and do that together. Like, we can be together now." And he's like, "I'm sorry." And he himself God, look. And, and she's like, Why? Why?" He's like, "The he was already coming back. I had to. I had to do what you said and give you my powers." Because that was one of the things she was like, "Yeah, I have part of his powers. You don't have everything." And that's why he was chasing her. And then he dies. And I cried because I was like, they're gonna have a happy ending. And and then somehow she ends up on the outside of, like, on the outer edge of the woods and her hometown, and she's found and taken to her house. Her cousin comes in, her mom has been in and out, and when her cousin walks in, she's like, "Oh god," thinking she's gonna, like, hit her or something, and her cousin's like, "I'm so glad you're." She was like, "But you told me you never wanted to see me." She's like, "Well, I'm not as upset as I was. I work in the city now." And that was, like, her dream as a kid was to go and work in the city as, like, a seamstress. And, she's like, "The pain will always," Liska's like, "Does the pain ever go away?" Because she's heartbroken now. And her cousin tells her, "Pain goes away a little bit. It's always there. There's always a little bit of pain." And so after spending some time with her mom and her cousin, she makes the decision, the decision to go back to the manor, and because Max needs her and Yaga needs her, and the woods still, they don't have the demons and all that, but people wander into them still need protection. And so that's what she's gonna do. She's gonna live in the woods. And later in the epilogue made me upset again. I got teary eyed. The epilogue is through the eyes of a little girl, and you find out that lady that she calls Mama is Liska, and Liska was given her from a lady who pushed her into the woods and said, "Can't handle her. Maybe you can." But she goes on to say, "It's okay because I have a big brother named Max, and he's teaching me how to write my letters. And that cat I like to catch." And she talks about how she likes to follow Mama around and try to do magic with her. And sometimes at night, when Mama thinks that I'm sleeping, I follow her into the woods, and sometimes a ghost appears. But Mama always tries to touch the ghost. And then one night, she did touch the ghost. Tell me this book isn't supposed to have a second book. Where is the second book? I need a second book. Okay? There's not one. There's not even talks of a second book. But it was a really good book. 4.5 stars. Because I need a second book. If I get a second book, I'll give it a point 0.5 and it can be a 5 stars. Um that's that's it. I know I've talked a lot. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you want this book, I'll leave a link for it in the description. I do get some pennies. I appreciate it. But I mainly put it down there because if you're like me you don't want to go somewhere else and type it in and try to find it and then click and then, "Oh, darn, it's sold out here, so let me go over here." I don't want you to have to deal with all that. This is the Amazon link that is usually good. No one's ever told me it's not. Do you want to do a reading challenge with me? I have the 2025 reading challenge. This is the adult one because, like this book that I just talked about, there are some adult content. I have a preteen and teen reading challenge. Um, preteen teens, and then I have a kids challenge. This is my paper pie challenge. Um, it's from my website. I am currently reading Lightning Girl. Well, I will be once I find the box that I stuck it in. It's somewhere. Not over here. It's somewhere else. I am listening to Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson, and I am physically reading Once Upon a Broken Heart off of the 2025 Reading Challenge for Adults. And for the preteen and teen challenge, I am reading Honest June. I am about halfway through. And if you want one of these reading challenge lists, I will leave that in the link below too. It is a Google Doc. So when you click on it, you can either print it out or I think you can save a copy to your own Google. I'll also leave links to like get all the books. Like so you click the link and it takes you to a list on Amazon of all the books. Adult challenge and the preteen challenge. Teen challenge. And then the paper pie one will take you to all of the books on the paper pie reading challenge. So that you don't have to go searching for them. What else? What else? What else? Comment below. Comment below if you read or listened to Where the Dark Stands Still, and what did you think? I need to know if I'm the only one that cried over this book. And subscribe because you wanna. If you wanna. Subscribe. If you're not sure if you want to subscribe, you can click the circle of my face that'll be down here, and it'll take you to my page, and you can check out my other videos or my playlists. And I just do random reviews and a lot of book reviews because I got tired. Oh, this book is 5 stars, and then I read it and I was like, waste of my time. 5 stars, my butt. That was being nice. There was one book I read. It was one of those TikTok books. Ain't gonna give me no more. Anyway, no, and share this video because sharing is caring. Now that I've recorded this video twice, hopefully I can edit it, and I'm gonna go make some burgers because that's what I want for dinner tonight. Yeah, I'll see you on my next video. Bye.